Warhammer MMO. Josh, you want to talk about the world a little bit?
Absolutely. So, the world of Warhammer is a world of conflict. It's all about the forces of good, the forces of order, engaged in a constant, eternal battle with the forces of destruction. And so you've got the 6 distinct racial races that we've got: the dwarves, the empire, the high elves, the greenskins, chaos, and the dark elves. 6 distinct, specific parts of the world, each unique. And so you'll generally have a situation where it's the forces of order trying to build up and improve, and the forces of destruction trying to come in and obviously destroy. And as you look at the world, all of these distinct locations give you unique and evocative play spaces to inhabit. Right. You've got places like Altdorf, which we'll get into in great detail, great painful detail later on. Which is sort of your traditional Germanic experience. And then you've got the dwarves who have delved deep into the mountainsides and they've carved out giant fortresses and huge statues. And you've got the inevitable city, whose name we cannot pronounce. The word will drive you mad, your eyeballs will explode. It's chaos. You've got all these interesting locations to visit, and as we said earlier, one of the exciting parts of being part of the Warhammer IP is bringing to life these parts of the world that players haven't had a chance to see previously. They haven't had a chance to actually walk around in Altdorf. Right. They haven't had a chance to walk up to the Bastion Stair. They haven't had an opportunity to move through Prague or to see some of the High Elven lands. And we're going to talk in detail about actually the elves coming up right now. In beta, at the moment, the sections of the games that the players are getting to use right now is the elf pairing. And unlike all of the other sections of the game, where there really is a sort of a distinct territory for each of the races, right, and they're moving back and forth across those 2 territories, the High Elves and the Dark Elves are really one people.
They're brothers.
They are. They're kin. Millennia ago, they were one people. They lived together on Ulthuan, which is a magical island in a magical ocean full of magical elves who are magically thin and magically beautiful.
Wonderfully beautiful.
They're just like Jeff. I'm more dwarven. And so, what you've experienced with the elves is actually a civilization that was once unbelievably magnificent that's in significant decline. The High Elves are continuing to try and defend honor, tradition, art, beauty, architecture, and things of that sort. And so as a High Elf, you're actually running around in your native land attempting to preserve the greatness of your civilization. And as a result, you're constantly at war, unfortunately, with your kin, the Dark Elves.
That's not your fault, though.
It's not my fault.
It's their fault.
It's the Dark Elves' fault.
That's right.
And we'll touch on that in a moment. Just as a quick refresher, though, we're going to run through the High Elven careers that we've announced so far. And those are the Shadow Warrior, who's probably my favorite career on the entire side of Warhammer.
Because of the crazy mask?
They have the crazy masks, and what they actually are, they're sort of a skirmish and range-based combat class. So you get to run around with a bow and arrow, and you're on the move, and you're running in front of the projector, and then you're getting back away from the projector. Sorry, there's like a dot there, and I'm not supposed to go past the dot. And sorry, keep going. So, the Shadow Warrior is the range damage dealing class for the High Elves. They're really exciting. They give you the opportunity through the career mastery system that Adam Dershowitz is going to touch on in much more significant detail later on today, to really decide, do I want to be on the periphery of the battle pinging people with arrows, or do I want to be in slash and throws? They're really interesting. Yeah. The Swordmaster is the defensive or tank-based melee class. Unlike some of the other tanks in the game, though, they're not all about super heavy armor and big giant shields and moving really slowly. They're about delicate balance, what we call blade dancing.
Just like an elf.
Just like an elf.
Yeah.
I won't do that again today.
Don't do that.
So the Swordmaster uses blade dancing and agility to sort of knock arrows out of the sky and defend things, and he can enchant his blade with magical elven leaves, and I'm more of a dark elf type. So that's a Swordmaster. And then the Archmages are really sort of your absolutely archetypical magic user. They've spent a lifetime mastering all of the winds of magic. And unlike all of the other magic users in the Warhammer world, they actually have total control over all of the magical winds. As a result, you're going to be able to do interesting sort of damage-dealing spells. You're also going to be a very useful healing support class. The Archmage really is one of the more interesting healers that we've got in the game.
Yeah, so I like to refer to the Shadow Warrior as the ranged DPS guy.
Yes.
The Swordmaster is the tank.
Yes.
And the Archmage is the healer nuker.
I said all those things.
Okay.
Okay. They wrote them down. I'm watching this guy. Who's reading his email?
Who's taking
front
notes?
row. Oh, he's just not even paying
He's
attention.
not reading. He's
smacking
typing notes on his PDA.
You. Let's talk about the Dark Elves. So, the Dark Elves really are the flip side of the coin from the High Elves.
These are the ones that I like to play.
I like to play them as well, but now I
great.
have to play a High Elf because Jeff won't let me play in his guild. Everything that the High Elves represent, honor, tradition, sort of beauty, art, architecture, the Dark Elves represent the exact opposite. They represent sort of corruption, they represent decadence, they represent America a little bit. They kind of, they have these gigantic, whoa. Jeff actually told me not to say that. He's like, seriously, that's really awkward. Don't mention Normandy later either. So we will. So at the beginning of the game, it's actually just like Normandy, except in reverse. So the Dark Elves have actually ripped up high elven cities millennia ago and have floated them off and done terrible things to them, put spikes everywhere and giant dragons that can fly around. Oh, it's scary. And now they've rolled back up to the coast of Ulthuan in these floating black arcs. And they've started to pour off into the high elven territory to attempt to destroy and enslave and reclaim the land that they believe rightly belongs to them.
It does rightly belong to them.
It does.
It's their land.
Look at that buxom lass on the screen. So, again, you know, the Dark Elves represent the exact flip side of everything that the High Elves have, right? So
they're the bad guys.
They're not the bad guys.
They're just misunderstood.
They're like Lord Byron.
Like the Americans.
Smoke a lot of opium, have a lot of interactions in the nude.
Careful.
Sorry. T for teen.
Talk us through the Dark Elf classes,
All right,
Josh.
so we're going to start with the Witch Elf. The Witch Elf is probably the sexiest career in the game.
I don't know. I think the Sorceress is actually.
And the Sorceress is pretty nice. Oh, there's a crowd. The Witch Elf is, and Jeff's going to require me to say the sort of geek version of it, it's the melee DPS,
Excellent.
close range, high damage, sort of low armor career.
She's awesome.
She's scantily clad. So what she uses is something called Frenzy, where she basically drinks a draft or a potion, goes crazy on the battlefield, stabs a man in the back. She's exactly what a 12-year-old boy thinks women are like. Huge boots, enormous hair, sharp blades, can't wait to run up behind a handsome guy like Jeff in the spine. So, the Witch Elf, a ton of fun. If you're familiar with sort of the rogue archetype in RPGs, she's the class for you.
Absolutely.
Then we've got the Blackguard. The Blackguard is a member of sort of the chosen security staff of the Witch King Malekith. And so as a Blackguard, you're actually one of the most sort of powerful warriors in the Dark Elven community. The Dark... Sorry. Yes, they hug each other. The Dark Elven army. And so you use giant sort of two-handed glaives and stabbing people and things like that. Heavy armor, very dangerous. They're a tank.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm not using the nerd term. Speaking of the nerd term, let's move on to our melee healer.
That's good.
Okay.
Good job.
Unlike traditional healers who have to kind of hang out in the back, in the shadow, and ping little magical heals on people and things like that, we have some melee healers in our game. These are guys that get right up in the thick of the fight, punch you in the face, heal their friends, slash your throat, drink your life essence, because we have a T rating, and we're releasing in Germany. They get really sensitive about that stuff. So the Disciple of Cain is our melee healer for this side of Disruption.
They're fantastic. Dual-wielding swords.
Well, what's really interesting about the Disciple is, this is one of the situations where we looked at the IP, and there really wasn't anything in the IP that worked in terms of that particular role. So we had to go to Games Workshop on bended knee. Please help us make a healer class for the Dark Elves. So we came up with this sort of vampiric creature.